Many people don't realize that banana peels, often considered trash, actually have incredible benefits. In this video, I'll take a banana peel, which is usually thrown away, and use it as the main ingredient in an interesting experiment. It may sound simple, but who would have thought that behind this banana peel lies a little-known potential? Here, I've prepared some banana peels that we'll process and test together. Moving on, I've prepared the banana peels and cut them into small pieces to make them easier to process. I'll cut them evenly to maximize the results and ensure all the ingredients are thoroughly mixed. Now, at this stage, I use a knife to cut the banana peels we prepared earlier. I do this slowly to ensure the pieces are neat and nearly the same size. This ensures optimal and even results when processed. This process may seem simple, but it's crucial to the final outcome of our experiment. So let's make sure all the banana peels are properly cut before moving on to the next step. Once everything is chopped, I'll collect the banana peels in one container to make them neater and easier to process in the next step. I'll make sure none are left out so that all the ingredients can be used optimally. Moving on, I'll turn on the stove because we're going to start cooking the banana peels we prepared earlier. I'll turn the heat up slowly and make sure the heat is sufficient for the next step. At this stage, we'll see how the banana peels react when heated. Will they change texture or produce something unexpected? After that, I put the water into the container or pan we've prepared, then added a little salt. This salt helps the cooking process, ensuring optimal results. I stirred it gently until the salt dissolved, and we prepared this solution before adding the banana peels to the next step. And in the next step, I'll add one more ingredient that might be unexpected: Fanta. Then I'll pour it into the solution and mix it. I'll stir slowly until everything is evenly mixed. This combination sounds unique, but that's where the fun lies in our experiment. After a while of cooking, the banana peels we added earlier will begin to soften. At this point, we'll remove them from the pan and strain them to separate the pulp from the water. This straining process is crucial for a cleaner, more sustainable result, ready for use in the next step. In this step, we'll only use the filtered water, not the banana peels. So we can set aside the banana peel pulp, and we'll only use the liquid for the next step. This water is what we'll test further. The next step is to take the styrofoam and cut it into smaller pieces to make it easier to work with. I'll do this slowly until the pieces are small enough to be ready to use. This will allow for a quicker and more even mixing process. Continuing at this stage, I'll mix the styrofoam pieces with PU thinner. I'll pour it in slowly, then let's see how the two materials react when they meet. Slowly, the styrofoam begins to change and blend, creating a different texture than before. This process is quite interesting to watch, because the changes that occur are visible very quickly. Once everything is thoroughly mixed, we'll move on to the next step to see the final result. Once the two are combined, I'll stir them slowly until they're completely combined. I'll make sure everything is thoroughly combined to ensure there are no lumps and maximize the results. And here, this is the liquid from the banana peel that we filtered earlier. The liquid looks quite unique, and this is the main ingredient we'll use in the next step. From here, we'll try combining it with the ingredients we prepared earlier. Will this combination produce something interesting? Let's continue and see the final result together. Then, at this stage, I'll combine the two and stir them slowly until they're completely combined. I'll make sure the banana peel liquid and the mixture are perfectly combined without any separation. You'll notice a noticeable change in texture, which is starting to differ from before, indicating that the two ingredients have begun to react. And at this stage, I will apply the liquid we mixed earlier to the plywood surface. I will spread it slowly so that all areas are completely covered. I do this process carefully so that the final result is optimal and looks neat. We will see how the liquid adheres to the plywood surface, whether it is absorbed well or produces different results. Once everything is evenly applied, We will move on to the next step to see the final result. After we've applied it to the plywood surface, I'll add the remaining liquid to it. I'll pour in a sufficient amount and then stir slowly until the red paint is evenly mixed with the liquid. The color change will begin to show, making this mixture even more appealing. Once everything is well mixed, we'll move on to the next step, which is to see the final result. Continuing here, I'm going to wash this table first, because we'll be using it to apply the paint mixture we made earlier. I'll clean the surface of any dust and dirt to ensure optimal results and proper adhesion. Once the table is clean and ready, we'll move on to the next step, which is applying the mixture and seeing the final result. Next, I'll thoroughly clean this table using soap to remove all the dirt. I'll scrub gently until the surface is clean and free of dust or oil. Once everything is cleaned, I'll also dry it in the sun. I'll let it sit for a while until the surface is completely dry and there's no water left. After we've dried it in the sun and the surface is completely dry, I'll start painting it using the liquid we made earlier. I apply it slowly and evenly to the entire table surface, making sure not to miss any spots. You can see how the liquid begins to adhere and change the surface's appearance. This process will determine the final outcome of our experiment, so I'll proceed carefully to ensure optimal results. Now you can see the results. The color looks very bright, and almost the entire surface is completely covered. The results are quite satisfying and look neat from all angles. From here, we can see how the mixture we created earlier really works and produces quite significant changes. And in this final stage, I will dry it in the sun so that it dries quickly and the results can be more optimal. Now, I'll try out the results. The plywood we just coated with our homemade solution is now dry, and we'll see what the final result looks like. And here, I'm going to open up the divider I made earlier using duct tape, so we can see the difference more clearly. And here I sprayed water on the plywood surface I'd previously applied the solution to. The results were quite surprising. The coated area didn't absorb any water at all, becoming water repellent. Meanwhile, on the adjacent area where I hadn't applied the solution, the water seeped right in. Let's move on to the second experiment, on a table that we previously applied a mixture of banana peel liquid and paint. Here, we'll see how it dries and is applied to a different surface. Are the results the same as on plywood, or are there any differences? And here, I'm also going to spray some water on the surface of the table that we just applied the primer to. We'll see if the water soaks in as usual. And look at the results. The water doesn't seep into the surface at all. Instead, it clumps together into tiny droplets on top. This indicates that the coating we created truly has a fairly good water repellent effect. These results further strengthen the fact that our experiment this time was successful and provided very interesting results.